Let's talk about Jekyll. Let's talk about Hyde. Let's talk about your basketball team.
Oh, I watched the game when they were on the road in Boise, and I thought they had it in the bag. And then in the last 4.5 minutes, everything went to hell. And now Boise crept up a little bit closer. The Aztecs weren't able to close this game out.
Well, San Diego State, and it's hard to believe we're sitting here talking about a 23-6 basketball team in a critical vein. But I'll tell you, I watch Aztecs, follow them, go to the press conferences, talk to the coach, some of the players. They feel more and more like a 10 or 12 loss team to me than a 23-6 team. They have blown leads in 6 different games in the final 5 minutes, 6 times. Their record in close games that they had the lead is only 4-4 this season. This sure does not look like an Elite 8 team to me. It does not look like a Sweet 16 team to me. Now, that being said, should be the top seed Mountain West Conference tournament, and on a neutral floor should be able to beat these guys. But this team is so erratic. You never know what you're going to get from your bigs. You never know where the three-point shooting is going to come from. You never know if there's going to be these defensive lapses in the second half of games and blowing all these leads. And for a veteran team, that's the thing that drives me nuts. For a team with all this experience, all these 5th and 6th year guys, to play like this at crunch time, wow. So they're 23-6. They don't look like a 23-6 team to me, or am I being too critical?
No, I mean, it's legit, because remember, roll the clock back 6-7 years ago, the Aztecs had that amazing streak when they were winning with 5 minutes left. They always close out the game. It was something like 140 consecutive. It was insane. What do you think was the magic that made that happen? Was that just Steve Fisher? Was it kind of a mentality he was able to coach his players, or was it the personnel? I mean, what's your take on that?
I think it's a combination of all those things. Check all those things off. I mean, that was a really immensely intelligent coach, and Steve Fisher should be in the Hall of Fame. That was a tremendously talented offensive basketball team with great skill, but also unbelievably gifted defensively. And there was a mentality. I just don't sense that. I mean, I like Matt Bradley a great deal. He's having to carry the load a whole chunk of time late in games because these other guys freeze out or can't hit shots. And these other guys are all experienced. I mean, we're talking about Trammell, the transfer from Seattle. Can't buy a basket for weeks. And I don't know which Adam Seiko's showing up at Viejas Arena now. The guy's going to go 5 for 5, hitting threes coming off the bench, or the guy's going to go 1 for 5 and sits on the bench. And Nathan Mensah gets in foul trouble. And for somebody who's played as much basketball as he has, he hit a plateau offensively, and he's never improved off that plateau. I thought he was going to be a dominant offensive guy, in addition to being what's stamped on his driver's license, Defensive Player of the Year. I don't see that. And so some big issues for San Diego State. Again, 23-6 doesn't feel like 23-6 to me.
Well, I think maybe the other teams are figuring out the Aztecs, because whenever Seiko gets the ball now, I mean, they're on him, because they won't even let him get a 3-point shot off, because he has that quick release like Jordan Shackle had. So I think what they're doing is they're saying, okay, Keshad, you hit the outside shot, we'll give it to you. And he's been actually hitting them lately, but he's made big improvements. They're saying, Lamont Butler, you need to hit the outside shot. They're covering Bradley, but these other guys need to step up. I mean, Trammell has been good lately, but where were these guys in the last 4.5 minutes in Boise? I think, wasn't Bradley on the bench for most of that time?
Yeah, I just the combination of problems, and it's a chemistry problem, it's a confidence problem. It really stuns me. Now, a week from now, we'll be talking about the Mountain West Conference tournament, and I think they'll be able to win that conference tournament because it will be on neutral floor, it won't be in a hostile venue. But boy, I'm just kind of haunted by what I've seen, what's happened at the end of the second half of these games. Like I said, this whole thing started way back in the Arkansas game in the Maui Classic and just kind of progressed as we've gone through the whole season. All right, before we get to the last two topics on the table,